Hello, this is Chris from Optinet. This time we're going to look at how the contact lens records in Flex work. This is the clinical format that we're looking at, and it's to explain a little bit about the flow around how initial assessments go on to become aftercares and so on. So firstly, let's log into Flex, and on my demonstration record I'm going to choose New and Contact Lens Record. What non-clinical users will see at this point will just be a record tab where you can put in the lenses they're wearing and their recall. However, for clinicians, we'll see the full clinical options here. So if I choose Initial Assessment, it's going to pop open a new record for us, and I can put my details in here. So it's got my name here, it's got today's date and time, and first up is the medical assessment. So if any information had already been added in the sight test, or indeed a previous contact lens episode, this will all be copied through for us, and vice versa. Anything extra added here, if I disclose that I'm now taking a new med, then that will also appear on the sight test record. Clinical assessment is up next, which works very similar to the sight test in that we can double click or drag and drop answers across that we want. A reminder of the 2-star function, which is replacement text. So if I type in football, then it'll say yes, football, allergies, etc. So the questions here very much conducive for a new, not a returning lens wearer. Anterior eye we find our way to now. We've got a space for K readings and diameters to be entered at this point, and also the Efron grading scale that's built in here. Just hover your mouse over any of the conditions to see all the different options. If I click grading and normal, then that will put everything to 0. I can also copy my answers to the left eye, or just reset if you've gone wrong and want to start again. A couple of tips and tricks that no one's really aware of with the Efron grading scale. If perhaps you haven't tested for corneal distortion, you can right-click reset just to get rid of that individual score. Plus, if you double-click on the score in question, then it will bring up a larger picture, so you can share this on the screen with the patient, show them why they shouldn't wash their lenses under the tap. But if I click next, you can actually show it as the progression of what that condition would entail, which is really useful. Images and sketches next up, which again has some familiarity to the sight exam in that you can load images in from your external equipment away from Flex, or you can double click on any of these images here and you can draw and annotate as you see fit, adding on text, other illustrations and so on. So next up comes trial lenses. So here we've got the ability to dispense multiple trials for that patient. Click on new trial lenses and it brings up our lens wizard. We curate our own contact lens data here at Optinet, which broadly speaking is taken from the ACLM yearbook. But however, if there are things that you notice which are not in Flex, a parameter we've misinterpreted, or most commonly on the support desk, it's if it's a GP or an ortho-K lens which we might not be aware of, let us know. We'll try and get that data in the system within 24 hours. We can search for the name of the lens that we want in question. If I double click, it will go on for both eyes, or I could choose right and left separately if I want to. You can search by the supplier, type and so on if we want. And what that will do is it's filled out all the information up to and including the base curve and diameter. You may occasionally have to choose the base curve if there's more than one. Then we can choose the power of the lens. It's put that on for the other eye as well because it's the same lens, but of course you can change it. This is just a spherical lens, but we could go through and put on the other information if we require. Whilst these are drop downs from the lens data we curate, you can actually type your own details in there if you need or want to. So you're probably thinking, well, how do I overfract or fit this lens? Hold that thought, we'll come to that, just to show you that we can actually go through and put on multiple trials. I believe 10 is the most. I don't think I've ever seen more than about 3, but you can go through and put these on here, and it's population trial lens 1, 2, etc. Billing, then what we can do now is if we're charging for any fees, we can add that on at this point. So I'm going to charge for the contact lens fit here, just the same as the sight test really. And then with recalls, this is a trial, so it's not really relevant to have a recall going on at this point. But what you can do as well is choose when you want to book an appointment for that patient to come back. There's also notes boxes for patient advice, any other notes you want to put in, and if you use staff tasks, these can automatically be generated going to a specific staff member or group of staff about ordering lenses or booking follow-up appointments, etc. So we're now going to save the clinical assessment. And how I explain this is that the clinical assessment is for that person's eyes. We're thinking, of course it is, we're an optician. By that, I mean, when we're looking at the fit and the OverFracked, we actually get the ability to do that separately for each lens. So if I click onto the contact lens record now, we have a contact lens home screen, as we call it, which shows all the information about the episodes for this patient and all the different trials which they've been issued. What I can then do is double click onto each of the trial record cards, and it will open up with the ability to overfract and fit the lenses. So here's all the information we saw a moment ago for the My Days, but what we've got here is a place to note the vision. So it's got the VA's post. I would expect that to be with lenses in. Pre might be to your own choosing there, of is that with current spectacles, completely unaided, or with current lenses. But what we can do is make a note of any overfraction on this lens. And if I press apply, that will then show in the corrected RX. And it's now updated the final RX that's going to be ordered with this information. So you can make a note of an overfract. If you don't want to do anything with it, that's fine. But if you do press apply, it will bring that through, where we can also note the swing of a toric lens on there as well, if we want to. Under lens fit, we can then just say how the lens is sat upon the eye, with a couple of other tests around blinks and lags and things like that here as well. And then that completes the overfract and fit for the My Day. And the other lens that we put on here, I can just double click and then I can overfract the other lens, which I've done as well. So you do have to come out the initial assessment, which does stump people occasionally when they're new to this. However, we do that so you've actually got the ability to dispense multiple trials and do fits and overfracts on them accordingly. So that's now it until the patient comes back in for their return visit. Let's now look at how the return visit will work. Before we click onto new contact lens record to choose the aftercare, what we're going to do is ask them before we start this which lenses they're coming wearing today, which ones have been the best, because what we can do on the trials that we'd done a few days ago is we can mark as a primary or a secondary pair. My interpretation would be their primary might be their monthly and their secondary are their dailies, or it might just be which are the best and which are the second best. But if we mark those as primary and or secondary pair, it's going to populate the information up here. You may well not have a secondary pair, there might only be one pair they're ever going to have, but I'm putting them both up there just to explain how that works. With the right click, we can also go back in to update those or just mark them as suitable or not suitable. We can do new trials through here as well. So now when I open up a contact lens record, I'm going to choose Aftercare. And it's actually going to ask me a question now. It's going to say, do I want to load in the primary or the secondary pair? You'd have to do a second aftercare if you were doing an aftercare on more than one set of lenses. So I'm going to choose primary pair, and let's have a look through this. This I might take at a slight jog compared to the fit, because the questions are all exceptionally similar, with medical assessment, the clinical being more conducive to a returning lens wearer. We've got all the Ks and the Efron again, images. And refraction, what it's done is it's remembered all the details from last time, including the overfract, that information I made about the toric alignment of the lens and that 0.25 before, hence why it's brought through a 5 for me. So what we can do now is another overfraction on this aftercare. So we can go through and do all the same information here. And the lens fit works in just the same way. We're at a bit of a T-junction now. If we go one way, the patient's happy, great, we'll see them again in a few months' time. If we go the other way, they're not happy with these lenses, and really this aftercare has now become a fit. So we do one of two things. If they do need to have trials, we can choose new trial lenses, and if we think of this as a flowchart, it begins again. We add the trial, and once we've saved this, we can go in, do an overfract and fit on these lenses. When they come back in a fortnight's time, whatever, we do another aftercare and go from there. Hopefully, however, they will be happy, in which case we can do any billing and then choose a recall for them to come back in 6, 12 months, whatever that may be. And all of this is curated under the contact lens home screen here. So, if you want any more help or any guidance with this, please do let us know through the portal, optinetuk.com/support, or you can get in touch with us by the phone if you need to as well. To book a call, it's 0800 310 2400, and the very best of luck with contact lenses in Flex.